up, y'all? It's DJ Envy.
And I am Gia Casey.
And this is another edition of Pillow Talk with the KC crew.
Welcome.
Now, if you know about Pillow Talk, if you're just joining us, we talk about everything that's hot, the hottest topics, everything that's going on in the world. We break down. It's usually a weekly wrap-up, and it comes out every Monday. It's Monday still. We're a little late because I just got back from South Africa. I was in South Africa for the last 5 days. But it's only right that we get this podcast up and get it going. A lot of people have been hitting us about Pillow Talk and wanting to know our opinions on different things. So let's start it off. First thing, Fabolous and Emily.
Emily B.
Mm-hmm. Now, they allegedly got into an altercation. It's been a bunch of rumors swirling around, so I'll tell you exactly what the news says, or I should say what TMZ is saying. TMZ is saying that Fab was arrested for assault on Emily B. There is a video that actually came out where Fab is actually arguing with Emily B's dad, and people are saying that, you know, maybe Fab hit her a bunch of times. I know in the TMZ report, they say they got from NewJersey.com that Fabolous allegedly hit Emily B 7 times and knocked out her teeth. It's a whole story, you know? So, you want me to go first or you want to go first?
I'll let you go first.
Okay. Now, if you haven't heard the story, I've known Fab for, I think since I was around 17 years old. All right. Now, the reason I'm giving you this backstory is because this is why I'm thinking this. Now, I've known Fab since I was 17 years old. Fab used to come to my mom's house and record records. Me and Fab went on tour together. Actually, that was Fab's first tour DJ, where he actually put me on the road. We went on, I believe, like a 45-city tour, and we were on a bus for like 60 days together.
Yeah. Close
proximity. I mean, we damn near... You know, we were on a tour bus. So it was
Madison was a baby, right?
Madison was a baby. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it was like 8 of us on the tour bus, right. You know. City to city, you know, I know Fab pretty well. Is he a personal friend where, you know, I call him and we go shoot the shit and hang out and go to the bar? No. But he's somebody that if I need a favor, I can call on him. He can call on me. The reason I'm giving you that backstory is because out of, I would say 15 years of knowing Fab, maybe 20 years of knowing Fab, I have never seen Fab aggressive. Never. Not one time. That the cool person that we've seen on TV and on camera, he's always had. Even when me and Fab had problems, I wouldn't say beef, but when we had problems and we disagreed and we didn't talk and this, that, and the other, he's never came out of that Fabolous character. And the reason I say that is when I seen the incident on the TMZ cameras and I heard about what happened, that wasn't in the Fab's character that I know, that I've been around. With that being said, you know, people say, well, you know, do you believe Fab did this? Do you believe Fab did that? And on this one, because usually I have my opinion of what I thought or what I felt or what I feel or what I see. This one, I'm honestly not sure. And the reason to say I'm honestly not sure is because I try to break things down differently, right? One, I was thinking if Fab really, if he did hit Emily B and knocked her teeth out, I honestly would think he would have been arrested and a charge more than what he was charged with. Because
he was charged with assault in the 3rd degree. Is that correct?
I believe it was assault with a 3rd degree and making threats, terroristic threats, I believe.
Terroristic threats, right?
I believe those were the 2 charges that he was charged with. And I believe if he knocked out her teeth, if that was actually true, then I think it would be a bigger charge. Also, I hate to... I don't, what's the word I'm looking for? I hate to basically say somebody's guilty of something or assume somebody's doing something assume somebody has done something because I know what the press does. I know they go with a headline and it's kind of like a ball that continues to roll and roll and roll and roll.
You feel as though there's a possibility that they're sensationalizing the story.
Absolutely. But I don't want to, now let me get this clear. Let me say this straight. If Fab did put his hands on Emily B and punch her 7 times and knocked her teeth out, there's a problem. There's a major
problem.
Clearly. And when I say there's a major problem, I'm meaning that yes, he should be convicted and yes, he should go to jail if he did that. That's honestly how I feel. Reason being is,
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
What do you say to people that may think that he was quote unquote provoked to do that? Because Have you heard anything about what may have precipitated the assault or the alleged assault?
And this is another thing. You know, the first initial statement, they said Fab was mad that Emily B was in LA and he didn't know she was in LA, and that made him mad. And when he got back, he was going to handle it. That was the first account that was on TMZ.
Right.
And I don't believe that would make anybody that mad where you want to get to that point. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what was inside their house or what happens inside their house. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that would make somebody that mad. Because thinking about it, to knock somebody's teeth out, you know what I mean? Like, that is a hell of a punch. And I don't even think if I punched you or you punched me, maybe you could knock my teeth out. I think I would have to hit you with an object to knock your teeth out.
No, you could hit a person with the fist and knock their teeth out. It just has to be a very forceful punch.
Right.
Period. And especially, you know, depending on the condition of, you know, a person's tooth or whatever.
Correct.
It can make it more easy or more difficult or whatever, but you can absolutely knock a person's tooth out with a fist.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So let's not throw that in there.
Right. I'm not sure, but you know.
No, I'm sure people have gotten their teeth knocked out with a punch on several occasions. This isn't the first time that you've heard that.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. No, what did you ask? I don't remember.
I think that oftentimes people try to rationalize a response with saying that they were provoked to do that. So depending on why they got into this altercation, I think that people, if it ever does surface why they got into this thing, I think people will try to justify what he did because of the reason why he did it.
If he did it.
If he did it.
Correct.
And I just wanted to know what your thoughts are on that.
I don't think there's any reason to hit a woman.
Okay.
I honestly don't believe that.
Good. I just think that needs to be said.
No, the reason I say that is because, you know, we're not, and I'm not saying, and this is gonna come out a little crazy, but we're not 18, 19 years old anymore.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And not that it's okay for an 18 or a 19-year-old.
And I'm not saying it's okay, but you're younger, you do stupid things, but now you're
immature,
right.
You're not
now you
experienced, you may not know how to handle your anger or your emotions.
Right. So at the age over 30, that shouldn't be anything where you even thinking about that, especially if somebody has kids. And like I said, I honestly don't believe it. Not to say that I'm taking.
You don't believe it?
I don't think he hit her 7 times and knocked out her teeth.
So you think he might have hit her 6?
I don't think he hit her at all.
You don't think that he hit her at all?
No.
You really don't believe that?
I don't. And this is just me knowing Fabulous's character. And I'm not taking anything away from Emily B because I haven't heard Emily B say anything. I haven't seen the affidavit. The affidavit hasn't been released. The court paperwork hasn't been released. So until that's released, I can only go on how I know somebody. Now, if it comes out and he did, then I'll look at Fabulous a whole different way. But before that, I can't just say somebody. It's kind of like saying, you're found guilty and then you got to prove yourself unguilty or not guilty, I should say.
Right.
You should be not guilty and then you got to prove that you are guilty. So until I see any of that, I can't necessarily say, yeah. I can't necessarily do that. You know what I mean?
I respect
Especially with me knowing him and how he is. Now, if he was a piece of shit and somebody that I seen mad aggressive and mad violent all the time, then I would have a different take on it. But because I haven't seen it, I don't know. Maybe if I seen Emily B and I seen something, or maybe if I even heard her speak out, then I'll be like, okay, I get it. Let's
but
rethink
being that you haven't heard her make a statement or anything, but let's be real for a second. Mm-hmm. The video that we've all seen, right? Let's talk about the video. Mm-hmm. He's standing outside of what? A Sprinter, maybe?
Is outside of a Cadillac Escalade.
It's an Escalade?
Escalade.
Okay, he's standing outside of an SUV. Mm-hmm. And Emily is on one side.
Right.
And the father is on the other. Is the brother there as well?
I didn't see the brother.
I only saw the father.
Right.
Okay. And Fabulous is demonstrating a very aggressive persona in a sense. No?
Yes.
Okay. He's yelling at the father. He's screaming at the father. He's yelling and screaming at Emily. At one point, he even approaches her with what looks to be in his hand a knife, a small knife, maybe a switchblade, something like that.
We don't know.
I'm not sure, but that is what it appeared to be to me. Okay. He approaches her. She backs away and screams, clearly in fear. Okay. He tells the father something to the effect of, I don't remember verbatim, but something to the effect of, I have a bullet with your name on it.
Right.
Right? So now this calm person that you've witnessed over all of this time,
right,
that shows him in a different light, does it not?
Yeah.
Okay.
To a point.
Okay. Which just goes to show that a person can be calm until they reach their breaking point.
Right.
You know, everybody has the propensity to break and to get upset and to maybe break character in a sense. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So just because you've seen him calm over all these years doesn't mean that he cannot be violent and that he cannot be aggressive.
Correct.
So I respect that you haven't seen anything that's factual with your own eyes. I respect even more that we haven't seen a statement made by Emily, and that maybe being the reason why you would say, okay, you know, I don't necessarily believe it because I don't have proof.
Right.
Right? That is very clear and that makes sense to me. But saying that you haven't seen him be aggressive up until this point, to me, doesn't really mean much because I think we all can reach a point where something makes us so mad where we can lose ourselves for a second.
Absolutely.
And we saw that with our own two eyes. Secondly, yeah, she didn't make a statement, but you know what kind of weighs on my mind?
What's that?
Who do you think took that video? That video was taken from like an elevated place. Seems as though it was someone in their house, which would lead me to believe that it must have been someone that's either a friend or related to them, someone that had access to their house.
Right.
I'm assuming Fab left after the incident, in which case I would believe that Emily and her father and whoever else was there went back into the house. That video had to be presented. That video was put out.
Right. It was sold.
It was sold.
To TMZ.
It was sold to TMZ. So it was put out. It only makes sense to me that it was done with her permission, which to me means that she wanted it to be put out, maybe as a silent message to everybody that was going to get wind of it anyway, because she had to know that it was going to make the news, that it was going to get out somehow, some way. So it seems as though that may have been her statement because it didn't just end up in TMZ's hands.
Right. Somebody saw, I don't know if it was her assistant or whoever it was in the house.
Which is to me, her giving credit to the story that has been circulating.
Okay. No, I get what you're saying, but that and I'm not, and this is, when I have this discussion with you, I don't want you to think I'm defending Fab or I'm not defending Fab. I'm just putting everything on the plate.
Oh no, I don't think that you're defending him. That's not how I take what you're saying. I just want to make sure that it's clear. And for everyone, including us that don't know, that weren't there, that haven't seen any affidavits, court papers or anything, it's just a matter of making sense of what we do see.
Right.
Do you know? And can we be wrong? Of course, but that's what we're talking about.
See, but also, like, you know, when Fab was outside that house, they were having an argument, right? And the reason I say they're having an argument, right, is we don't know what they were arguing about. What made it disgusting? What made it nasty? What made me go at each other like that? For instance, how many times have we been in an argument and you said some foul shit to me?
I'm sure too many times to count.
All right, some foul, hurtful shit. Like,
okay,
like honest, like,
yes.
Like you said some shit to hurt me. Like you really wanted.
It's been a long time. Years, but yes.
You said some shit to hurt me at times and I'd be like, this fucking bitch.
Yeah,
right?
I'm sure.
When you're in an argument and words come out, sometimes people say shit and do shit that they really don't mean, and they say it in the heat of the moment.
To hurt, yes.
To hurt. You have done it to me many a times. I probably have done it to you many a times. You see what I'm saying?
Probably.
Right. I have.
Right. Okay.
I have.
Okay.
I have. But in that, so when I look at arguments like that, that's how I look at some of those things. Now, do I believe Fab shouldn't be talking to Emily B's dad like that? Yeah, but we don't know what Emily B's dad said to Fab. Like, we only see, like, this is the fucked up shit about the whole thing. We're only seeing a snippet of what.
That's true.
And
but let's talk about
one thing.
The story is.
Hold on one thing. And if Emily B did put this out, she's only going to put out the part that makes whatever she's trying to make look right. Just like if I'm arguing with you and you say some foul shit to me, but I say some foul shit to you first, what part am I going to put out?
No, I understand that.
What part am I
going to put out? But let's talk about context, and let's talk about what's the most reasonable. As the story goes, I believe after she was attacked by him, if I'm reading the story correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, but what I took from it was after she was attacked by him, she contacted her father and her brother and asked them to go to her home, which she shares with Fab, and remove the guns that are there.
Right.
They did that. I'm assuming that this video was taken at that point where Fab got to the house, realized that the guns weren't there, and the argument and the aggression ensued. That's what I think. Could there have been a gap between when they took the guns out of the house and the argument that we all saw outside the house? Possibly.
I think there was two different arguments. I think the alleged punching in the face happened, I believe, March 7th. And then they're saying this incident when he was at the house happened at another date. Like, there's two different dates.
Right. That's what I'm saying. There's no way for us to time it. But whichever way, I believe that argument happened after the guns were removed. So that would leave us to pretty much believe that that's the reason why Fab was so upset. And that's the way that the story is told. And it does make sense.
Well, we don't know especially if it was 7 days after. Like, that's the whole.
Maybe that's how long it took for him to be in the same space as them.
I don't know.
You don't know under what circumstances they were in the same space.
They could have been arguing for 10 minutes outside, and maybe that part was taken out. Now, the one thing that I could say, and I can say, is, and this is for anybody that's been in a long distance relationship, or not a long distance, a long term relationship. The way that the stories are coming out, Emily's finished.
What do you mean she's finished?
She's done with that relationship.
I hope to God she is.
If this stuff is true.
No, even if it's not true, I hope to God that she is.
Now, the reason I say that Emily is done with that relationship is because, let's say, I don't know, let's say I hit you. Right? I hit you one time. Boom. If I hit you, you would leave me.
Absolutely.
Right?
If you struck me, absolutely.
But I don't think you would call the police on me and say that there are guns in the house.
Well, no, you're wrong. If you knocked my 2 front teeth out.
I didn't say knock your 2 front teeth out. That's different.
Let's compare apples to apples.
Okay.
Like, because if we're not comparing apples to apples, there's no point in even having a hypothetical, right? If you punched me in my face repeatedly, and from what I understand, you said he punched her 7 times. I read that he punched her in the face 7 times.
It's all alleged. This is all alleged.
That's why I said that's what I read.
We haven't seen.
That's what I heard. Okay.
TMZ reported, okay?
If you hit me with such violence repeatedly and knocked my 2 front teeth out, yeah, I'd call the police.
Okay. You would call the police, right? And I would be arrested, correct? Now, let me ask you a question. If I was a felon and I had guns in the house, would you say also, Mr. Officer, there's 3 guns in the house?
I wouldn't do that. But there's a difference. This hypothetical is based on me knowing Rashawn Casey. And I don't know you to be a violent person. I would have to think that if you got to that point where you struck me so violently that you were on some kind of drug that I wasn't aware of, or that something happened with you emotionally and psychologically. And like I said before, like you broke.
Right.
So I don't know, because I haven't experienced this, but I don't know that I would fear for my life. So in this hypothetical situation, I don't think that I would call the cops and report illegal guns in the house.
Right. Because
that would ruin you past the situation that we're going through presently. Right. But if Emily reported those guns in the house because she feared for her life, because she saw glimpses of this violence, this aggression, and she really believed that he might take one of those guns and use it on her, then absolutely. I understand.
Right.
You and I are not Fab and Emily. So I can't. No, I know, but I can't. In that hypothetical, even if you punched me that many times, I would think that something wrong happened. I don't know if I would fear for my life. And I would also have to take in consideration what happened immediately after. He seemed like he beat her, allegedly. Mm-hmm. And then afterwards, still continued with that disgusting way of being and carried it to her father and her brother. And then I'm assuming that in that video, she's missing 2 teeth and he's looking at her and seeing the damage that he's done. And he still approaches her what seemed to be a switchblade or something of that nature.
See, now you're telling us what you think and what you believe.
I am telling you what I think. This is pillow talk. I'm telling you what I think.
But that's not necessarily what is true.
How do you know if it's true? You don't know if it's true or not. I'm talking about what's been reported.
Right. But there's a lot of things that people report every day and we always find out that it's false, that it's fake news, that it's exaggerated past exaggerated. And my point is this.
But we saw that with our own 2 eyes, babe.
What did we see? We didn't see.
We saw him approach her and her scream and back away.
No, but
he had something in his hand that appeared to be a small knife.
But you're swaying the jury with saying, and if he did go at her dad, looking at her, seeing that her teeth wasn't there, we don't know.
What do you mean we don't? If her teeth were knocked out, which I believe, can I be wrong? No, just like you said, she hasn't made a statement,
right? Nothing.
But the fact that video came out, and I believe that it's with her knowledge and her consent.
Correct.
I think that is her giving credibility to the story. That's what I think. That's what makes sense to me.
I don't think that video gives any credibility to the story that we don't know that was fabricated. All that video shows is Fab was arguing with Emily and Emily's father. That's what that story shows.
In an aggressive way with something in his hands.
Yeah, in an aggressive way, but we don't know what, like, you can't spit at me and then when I spit back at you, you'd be like, oh, you was aggressive with me. We don't know what happened to that point. And if he did and I'm wrong, then I agree with you 100%. But my whole thing is we can't make those assumptions without honestly knowing, because we're only getting a small part of that story. Like if let's just say, and I'm not defending Fab or am I defending Emily B. I'm just talking about both sides. Mm-hmm. Let's say Emily's dad spit on Fab. Mm-hmm. And Fab was aggressive and said some shit like, I got a bullet with your name on it, or said, fuck you, old man, or whatever it may be. He didn't hit the man. He has no problem with saying that because he spit on him.
No, but you know what he should have done? Because the way that I understand it, some time had passed. And that's another thing. Let me just say, time is passing. I don't feel as though he had a break. Not an immediate break where he acted spontaneously. From what we understand, on his way back, at some point on his way back is when he texted Emily something to the effect of, I want to beat your head in with a baseball bat.
Right.
Something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would kill you, but I don't want to go out like that, right? So it's not like he texted her and then had a moment to calm down and relax and come to his senses. I'm sure that a lot of people listening have sent a nasty text or two.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Okay. But then you kind of come back down to earth and then you get back into reasonable mode. No. From what I understand, that happened. Then sometime after that, he allegedly beat her and punched her 7 times. And then what we know is sometime after that, this incident happened outside the home in front of the Escalade involving Emily, Fab, and the father. So he would have to know that obviously the father knew what happened to his daughter. So if the father did spit on him and he still hasn't de-escalated, you know what he should do? He should pull his sleeve down and wipe it off and say, I'll take that. You don't turn around and threaten the father's life and tote a little knife in your hand, if that's what it was, and threaten everybody around you. And not for nothing, I didn't... Common sense tells me that the father isn't like a hothead, because the father apparently removed the guns. I think if it was my father would have used one of those guns on Fab if my 2 front teeth got knocked out. So he seemed somewhat level-headed. He was arguing with Fab or exchanging words with Fab, but he was still somewhat level-headed. And he said, but I think Emily said, I thought she said, that's my dad. And the father said, that's my daughter. Basically, like, clearly I'm going to be upset, but he didn't seem overly aggressive or anything.
All right. Well, let me break it down like this.
Was that your take? Because think about some other people's fathers and how that would have ended. Right. It would have ended Fab not having a gun, the father having access to a gun. It would have ended with Fab laying on that concrete.
See, but this is the whole thing, right? And this is what I'm trying to explain. You are basing your assumptions off of something we don't even know if it's true. So like this is the whole thing. They said sources say Emily B said this is what happened in the text, right? Now let's be honest, right? And I don't know Emily's dad or anything like that. We have a daughter. We have 3 of them. Mm-hmm. Right? Now, if somebody punched our daughter in the face.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And knocked her teeth out.
That person would be a goner.
Let me finish. And they come to the house where my daughter is and their kids are. Mm-hmm. Right? And the person who punched her comes up to the house.
Right.
What will happen?
That person would be a goner.
Okay. Right? I think that's every father out there.
It doesn't have to be every father.
That is every father out there. There's not one father out there that can sit there and say somebody punched their daughter in the face and was cool with it. And then when the person comes to the face, you just sit there. No,
I didn't say cool with it. That's a gross exaggeration.
Or even because if the story that you're saying that you read that you think it's true, if that happened like that, there's no security guard or nobody out there that can hold me back from trying to get to Fabulous. And if I have Fabulous's guns, I won't even have to worry about it because I'm laying everybody out. Do you understand?
Yes, that's my point. But that's what the assumption that...
Hold on, let me finish.
Oh, go ahead.
Now, with that being said, we don't know what actually happened, what actually came in those texts. We don't know who's putting these texts out. We don't know
what text?
The text that you just read that he said. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we don't know what actually is going on. And my whole problem is I really hate when people make an assumption and we don't know, because automatically Fab is looked at as a piece of shit. Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. But we don't know if he even laid a hand on her.
Yeah.
We don't know any of that. And that is not right. Now, if he did lay his hand on her,
I understand.
Then I agree with everybody. And that is my guy. But if he hit her 7 times and knocked out her teeth, he should go to jail. Absolutely. And that's with me being cool with him, because no man should hit a woman. Not at all. It gets to the point, no, but I don't believe a woman should hit a man either. But if a woman does...
I don't believe in a not at all. Like that's...
What you mean not at all?
Listen, and I'm just going to be real. If there's a situation where a woman is being aggressive towards a man or strikes a man or takes a pot or a pan and hits him upside his head... Yeah, I think that the man has a right to defend himself. So
there's a difference between defending yourself and something else. Like,
No. What I'm saying is, just to be clear, you said I don't think that there's any situation where a man should hit a woman.
I don't.
I think that if a woman takes a pot or a pan and goes upside a man's head, I think he has the right to defend himself.
If a woman is on top of him, beating him crazy, yes. But if a woman if you hit me over the head if you hit me in the head with a pot right now, I'm gonna walk out the house. You know why? Because I know my strength, and I could probably fuck you up.
But I'm what's to say I don't deserve to get bleeped up?
Yeah, but I it makes no sense because I'm old enough now where I could walk away. And people can say, "Oh, you weak,
maybe
pussy,
you,
a sucker."
maybe you,
But
maybe you.
I know I could walk away.
But what I'm saying is, I don't think that statement is absolute. I think that there are situations where women are stronger than men, and you can have a very crazy, mean, evil, violent female
To get out,
who
you don't need to
can
be there.
inflict harm on a man. And I think that if that is the case and you need to defend yourself, and I'm not saying beat a woman to a pulp, but if you need to defend yourself in order to get out, then I wouldn't judge that person harshly. That's all that I'm saying. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, but back to that situation, I just don't like how people already made past judgment on something that we don't know. We haven't heard from Emily. We haven't heard from Fab. The only thing that we have heard was from NewJersey.com, and everybody's pulling the same story from NewJersey.com. And the video. I want to see the affidavit. Let me hear from Emily and say, no, he hit me this many times. This is what happened. When I see the court paperwork, then I will believe it. But for right now, I just would hate to because
well, let me ask you this. I'm sorry to interrupt you, baby, but if there was no such incident, if it didn't happen, if he didn't put his hands on her, then who called the police? She must have called the police for something. Do you know what I mean?
Right, but
like
from what I understand, she didn't call the police originally for getting punched in the face and her teeth knocked out. She called the police for the terroristic threats and
with the father. So you think the police were called after that video?
That's what they said. They said the and this is what I'm saying. Like all the details are, but what they said was they called the police from the March 7th incident. The March 7th incident, I apologize, was where she allegedly got her teeth knocked out. They didn't call the police until whatever it was, the 15th or 17th.
So you mean to tell me the way the story goes is that the alleged attack happened on March 7th, and then they both flew to LA after that?
But that's what I'm trying to say. Nobody knows exactly what happened when those texts happened, when they came in. But what they're saying is, and I could be wrong, but I read it 17 times, that the alleged incident happened on one day, and then 7 days later, this happened, and that's why the police were called. That's what they are saying. I don't know.
But babe, regardless of time frame.
I'm not saying, yeah, right.
I know, regardless of time frame. You know, a lot of times when things happen and you learn about it in the media, details are skewed. Time frames are skewed.
Correct.
Things are exaggerated.
Correct.
But for me, the way that I'm looking at this situation is, even if there are inconsistencies, where there's smoke, there's fire.
Right.
That's what I believe. And, you know, you can see a situation where maybe the story's exaggerated, where maybe she wasn't hit 7 times, maybe she was hit 3 times or 4 times. Do you know what I mean? Or
there's a difference.
What do you mean?
There's a difference
between being hit 4 times and 7 times.
Between being hit once and being hit 7 times.
No, I didn't say once. I'm talking about an exaggeration. My point is this:
I'm saying?
Once and 7, yes, they're both horrible,
right?
But there is a difference. But that's my point. I don't think that. Let's say that this was information that she did give the police. I don't think that if he hit her once, she would exaggerate it to 7. Maybe if she was hit once, maybe exaggerate it to 3. You know, there's, to me, like ranges of exaggeration that are reasonable. Where would her 2 front teeth got knocked out come from? Out of air?
I don't know.
It's not likely. Is it possible? Anything's possible.
It is, right.
Could my entire basis for what I believe be wrong? Of course, because neither of us are there, and we don't have the story from the horse's mouth. I'm just talking about how I see it based on what I've seen and based on what I've read. And I just don't see someone completely making up that a person's 2 front teeth were knocked out when they weren't. Could one have been knocked out? Maybe. And the other one had to be removed because nerve damage, I could see something like that. Do you know what I mean? But to just pull that out of thin air doesn't seem realistic to me. So with that being said, even if the father spit on him and called him all the way out his name, even if Emily said the worst things imaginable to him, even if it was the worst possible scenario from Fab's standpoint, it still doesn't justify hitting her even once.
All right, let me explain.
Do you understand what I'm saying, though?
No, I do understand, but let me just say one thing, right? If you, let's say, mush me one time, right? I turn around and I snuff you, right? That could be just a reaction. You smack me and I automatically snuff you back, right?
I believe that it's reasonable that could be a person's response.
That could be a person's response,
okay.
right? And if that happens, that's bad. But it's not as bad as punching somebody 7 times in the face.
That's understood.
All right. Now, when we talk about, you said, all right, exaggerating stories. And I'm just going to use it because I just seen it on the news the other day. When people exaggerate stories or make up stories, and I'm not saying that people can, or I'm not saying Emily B did, because I prayed on it, and I pray to God that they can at least work it out so that their kids are okay. Because what even hurt me even more was hearing the kids crying in the background. The Central Park jogger. Do you remember that case where the lady ran and said 4 guys raped her? She made that story up completely.
Wait, the story from when we were kids.
Central Park, the lady was running in Central Park and something happened, I can't believe, and she said these 4 or 5 black individuals raped her. The 4 or 5 black individuals were arrested. Now the 4 or 5 black individuals even confessed to it.
All 4 or 5 of them?
The reason they confessed to it is because they were facing, I think, like the death penalty. And if they confessed, they only got 10 years. So they confessed to it.
So they're all free now.
They're all free now. After a couple of years, they was able to find DNA, and the DNA found out that it wasn't any of those boys. It was, I think, somebody else, and they were released. That person fabricated that whole story, and then the press made a mockery.
No. You said fabricated. Was it fabricated, or did she misidentify? You said
she
that
lied.
It was somebody else.
She totally lied. And what I'm saying is,
what do you mean she lied? You said it was somebody else.
It was somebody else.
So she was raped.
But it wasn't by those 4 boys.
So she lied in regards to whatever identification process she went through for them. Okay.
And the press had a field day with the stories. They would say, pulling up all types of things, I remember. Now, with this case, and I'm not saying Emily B's lying, because we haven't heard anything from Emily B. But all I'm saying is, let's not judge somebody to the extent that we're judging until we find out the full details. Because not only are we playing with a man's life, but we're also playing with his family. And I hate that, because, like I said, if he punched her 7 times, he's a piece of shit and he deserves to go to jail. And that's my guy, you know? Still will be my guy. He's just my guy that's a piece of shit, you know? But I don't necessarily think he punched her 7 times. I hope he wouldn't punch her 7 times.
Let's not even say 7, just multiple times, because it doesn't matter if it's 3,
right.
4,
no, 7,
10. You know what I mean?
And is Emily B is somebody that we speak to, that we see frequently. You know, not frequently, but we see periodically. That, you know, she seems like a sweetheart. Seems like a very nice person.
I'm acquainted with her. The same like what you said with Fab. I haven't been acquainted with her for a long period of time or anything, but I see her occasionally socially, and she seems like nothing but nice.
Sweetheart, absolutely.
Sweetheart.
Absolutely.
Absolute sweetheart. And I'm not even gonna lie, like when I read the story, I was upset, but when I read the part about the teeth, tears started falling down my face.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? To the point where, you know, I wanted to reach out, but I know how it feels when a lot is going on and people start reaching out. You just want to cut everybody off. So I didn't want to overstep by reaching out, but tears were flowing down my face.
Right.
Like that really, that part of it broke my heart, because if it's true, it just seems like, to put myself in that situation and to imagine what she had to endure, the pain, and then the loss of like a prominent part of your beauty.
Correct.
You know?
Correct. Well, I mean, we've been talking about this for 40 minutes. I mean, it's the whole pillow talk. I guess we'll find out more, you know, and I hope that they get help, both of them, you know. I mean, I'm not a couple because I don't see them getting back together as a couple, but just her getting help for the abuse and everything, and him getting help if he did, or, you know, I just pray for those kids and pray that, you know, everything works out for those kids. I reached out to him and I just hit him and said, hey, I mean, like I said, I don't know Fab like that. I'm not his personal friend. I'm not in his top 5, but I just was like, I hit him and was like, look, you know, I don't know what's going on. You know, I'm gonna pray for you. And if you need somebody to talk to, I'm here, you know? So I don't know. I don't know Emily. I would have hit Emily with the same, you know. I just hate to see people that I know, that I see going through things. And like I said, depressed sometimes make things worse. But I just hope that, you know, I don't know. I just hope I can't say that everything works out. I just hope that everything works out.
Well, from, you know, from the point of, you know, watching them from afar or seeing them from afar or whatever, you know, it seems as though as a couple, they've been through a lot, you know,
right.
And all I'll say is, if this is true, I hope that for her, it's the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Right.
You know?
All right. All right. Well, that is Pillow Talk. And we'll see you guys on Wednesday for
Right.
the KC Crew podcast. All right. And we had a whole bunch of other things to talk about, but I guess we'll just talk about them later.
Oh, well, it won't be news if we talk about it later.
Well, we'll let it slide. I didn't think this was going to be a 40-minute conversation, but it's good to go back and forth. Just get your opinion in here. And that's it. All right. I'm DJ MV.
And I am Gia Casey.
And that was Pillow Talk with the KC Crew.
Toodles.